I'm Ryan, this is my brother Daniel, and this is Rolls in the Family, and we are headed into November here, which is a great time to talk about what are the games we played
We're
in.
not headed into November.
Gosh, dang it, I don't even know what
We're
month it
leaving
is,
November,
Daniel.
you sick
Man,
freak.
I tell you, time flies. Time flies. It's my birthday's coming up, actually.
It is.
Yeah. No, you're right. We're headed in December,
But
aren't
we are
we?
headed back into the memories of November.
The memories of November. November's
Yes.
on the mind, you know. Just had Thanksgiving, you know.
Oh, I'm still full.
Yep. And we're going to be talking about our top 3 board game plays from November 2025. If you'd like to leave in the comments below what your top plays in November were, that'd be great.
Yeah. Get any games around the Thanksgiving table?
Yeah, any Thanksgiving gaming? Looking at mine, those aren't the ones that made the list for me, actually.
Wow. Bad Thanksgiving day for Ryan.
Yeah, it was very rough Thanksgiving. Yeah, but
I got one.
No.
Got one
It
from
was
them.
good. It was good.
Okay.
We'll have links to all the games we talk about down in the description below. We also soon, probably
Yeah.
quite soon, are going to be recording our annual Ask Us Anything video, which we have a survey down in the description that you can submit questions for that video. It's also our survey where we ask, it's like a little pulse check on like what kind of content you like on the channel. So if you want to communicate to us, you know, what
Your
you like that we're doing, what you hate that we're doing, that's the place. This is your avenue.
If
that
you've
you can
ever
really
been wondering how to complain about the channel,
lay into
this
us,
is
yes.
the way we've given
Please
for that.
file all complaints in the Google form below. Yeah, let's jump into this, Daniel. I'm curious. I don't know that I know much about what your gaming was this month. so-
Rude. I think I told you about every single one.
Maybe.
Okay, Ryan. My number 3 is my wife and I got a little getaway this month. We're gifted be able to go to kind of a stay overnight hotel place, and so of course brought some games. I mean, what else would you do? And so. And actually, funny enough, side story about this, Ryan. So we get to the hotel and there's no tables anywhere. Like I'm looking around, I'm like, hey, where can we? There's nothing.
Yeah.
And so I
So you left a strongly worded review. on the
well,
hotel
I should have.
website.
But in like this back like place, like there's a stairwell and there's just all of these like random things at the bottom of the stairwell. I found a folding table, and so I borrowed the folding table and set it up in our room, and we were able to play some games. So
Wow.
I came through clutch, and
Resourceful.
it led to my number 3 play. This was the morning after. My wife and I, we've played this one before, but this was by far the best play of it that we've had so far. This goes to Forest Shuffle, and yeah, so we've played this maybe a couple times, and Forest Shuffle, very fun kind of card game, has a little bit of I think what we like about Race for the Galaxy, of the whole when you're spending when you're playing something from your hand, the resources are also what's in your hand. Now the only catch in this game is that those things are going then out to a shared center place where you or the person you're playing against can end up taking those cards. So there's also a little bit of tension around that. But a game where you're playing these trees, and then kind of in a cool way, like cards have either an animal on the top or the bottom, or the left and the right, and you're choosing which side are you playing, and you're sliding it behind the trees, ultimately trying to build combos and score a ton of points. And this is a game where you can score a lot of points. In fact, I think they have an app where you can just like scan it, because it's a lot of math, but we like doing math in the Languish household.
And do
Ryan.
we trust apps?
Well, I will say, Ryan, like the downside to a scoring app is you lose the whole just like seeing what
the
someone
story
did.
of how somebody got
like
their
I
score.
like walking through and seeing,
Yeah,
oh my
I'm
gosh,
with
you
you.
scored this much for that and this much for that. So we tallied it up, and listen to this. My wife won 292 to 290.
Wow.
Like it's just amazing. A game that can score that high, to have it that close. I was running with this combo of I was getting all these common toads, which you can have 2 common toads on one tree, and they like score if a bonus if you have 2 common toads. And I think I got that on 2 different trees. But then the type of the common toad is like, I think it's a reptile, and I had a bunch of these, I want to say ants that scored like bonuses for how many reptiles I had. So I was just common toads, reptiles, going crazy.
Is a toad a reptile?
I don't know.
Toad is an amphibian, right?
Maybe it's yeah.
I'm not a
That's probably not reptile. It's probably
biology
an
expert, but
yes, people do not come here for their biology knowledge.
Yes.
But anyways, whatever it is, the symbol for a crawling thing on the ground. And so I scored a ridiculous amount of points just in that alone. But my wife was able to pull off some good stuff, and it's one that, again, the amount of comboing that happens in it is kind of crazy. But also just always this tension of spending cards, but knowing you might be able to get it back, especially in a 2-player game. I mean, there's only one person in between, you and you going again, but then the risk of if the card row ever gets to over 10, it clears. So kind of always navigating that. This one is really fun. I've not played it with more than 2 players yet, which I don't know if it would be better. It would, it's kind of like a lot of games where you introduce more players, it starts to become a little more random in that
especially with that card.
The card row.
I feel like it's very strategic with 2 players, especially because you can be pretty in tune with what they're doing.
Right.
Like I think we've compared this often to Lost Cities with that feeling of like putting things
that's
into
the game
shared.
I was thinking of. That's like that.
But because it has this element of you're putting things somewhere where either player could take it, but each player's valuation of things is different based on what they're doing. So it's like, this is good for me, but if it's 2-player, they know it's good for you, which is really the big difference. Like if you went to 3-player or 4-player, blocking somebody is a higher cost because it's not like this 0-sum game.
Right.
But yeah, it can be kind of cutthroat.
It can, but quite fun. So this is, it was so great to like have a play of it, and it really felt like this was the one that was like Forest Shuffle, like that. This is a great one to have in the collection, and it gives me a little bit of that Race for the Galaxy itch that my wife hasn't. Well, we don't even have that one anymore, so I guess we're not going to play it. But Forest Shuffle delivered.
Nice. There's supposed to be some good expansions for it.
I like expansions.
I love expansions. Nice. My number 3 is a bigger game that hasn't been played in a while, which often is the theme for a lot of the bigger games in my collection. It's this slow cycle over the course of a year of, what are the bigger games that's been the longest since I played? Can I get them to the table? So it was nice to get this one back. Played a 2-player game with actually the friend of mine that I've played this the most with, 2 players. So it was nice to be able to just like, pretty much jump
rules,
in. Yeah. And this is Underwater Cities.
Oh.
Underwater Cities. It's an interesting game to talk about on a list like this, because I've realized compared to, like we've talked about, one of its strengths is how tactical it is in that you have these 3 cards and you're trying to match the cards, the color of the card to the action so you can get both, but then you always get a new card, and so it's always just like changing kind of what you can do, and it's a lot of just like different tactical combinations of things. I've realized as a result, it's hard after a game of Underwater Cities, especially in a case like this where I played it at the beginning of the month, for it to be really memorable, because there isn't like this really overarching
big,
I did this really
path.
different strategy this game.
Right.
It's like, no, I did a bunch of little tactical things differently to do a lot of the same things you usually do.
Yeah.
But the tactical things are
they're fun,
satisfying, and so interesting that it's not really a complaint on the game.
Right.
It really is kind of this game's strength. But this particular game, as I was trying to kind of like, look back at my photos of it and remember kind of how it went, I did have so we were playing with the New Discoveries expansion content.
Great
one of the pieces there is you get a unique special assistant. I had like the shark. I like to be led by a shark as I build like a intelligent shark.
Oh, okay.
I think it's got like
the theme in this game is very strong.
Very strong theme, yes. I mean, you do build underwater cities. It's true.
True.
But his ability was I basically got to take a special card right away from like a choice of 3 or something. And so I got one of those islands that's just like really good production right away, which isn't like super common that you'll get an island like before all of the production rounds. So that was really nice, and I actually led me down a path of I did more special cards in this game that I think I've ever done in Underwater Cities, and part of that was there was one of those like race objectives that the first person to achieve it gets the extra bonuses, and one of them was playing a certain amount of special cards. So that was like my opening strategy was, okay, Headhunter's gonna start me with one. I'll just try to go hard on that. But then I also, like, it's very common in this game for everybody to forget about like the end game scoring special cards until like the last round or two, and then you realize, oh, there's literally one space where people can get special cards. So like you can't all go get them at the end. But this game I was way better about earlier on thinking about special cards, and I ended up playing 3 of the end game scoring special cards, which usually I play like 1.
Wow.
Now granted, it means I also like didn't score quite as high on them because I'm not doing as many
Ryan
things.
took last by a great amount.
No, I did win this game.
Okay,
It was
no one
actually-
asked, Ryan.
It was one of these games where I was like, I might be having one of my better games of this. Like, I was thinking I was maybe going to win by a lot, but it ended up being quite close. Like, he made some pretty kind of big moves down the stretch.
Nice.
But yeah, just a really, really fun game that has managed to... Oh, Dangle disappeared.
My toesies are getting cold.
Oh, man, grab a blanket.
Grab a blanket.
Dangle's out there in Minnesota, you know.
It's freezing out here, folks. I record outdoors.
Please support the channel so Dangle's heating bill can be covered.
Yep.
I was just going to say, Underwater Cities is a game that has managed to, despite being in the most competitive category in my collection of these kind of longer, heavier games, carve out its own niche. And I think that tactical nature of it is a big part of it. Like a lot of the other games in the same category don't have that quite the same feel of just like that constant flow of, you know, getting those cards and just the interesting, how does this change how I approach the round?
In some ways, it a little bit is what I like about like a Great Western Trail too. Of that like constant, just like, okay, 3 space, like which one? How am I going to maximize?
3 in front of me.
That one has a little bit more of the like bigger picture strategy type, you know, directions you can go. But I love both those aspects in those games.
Yeah. Yep. So good to get this one played again. It's really good 2-player. Good with the expansion content. Fun stuff.
Speaking of 2.
Oh, not fun stuff.
And also fun stuff.
Oh, man. Double segue.
Man. We just double segued. We're going to go to my number 2, which was played last night. We got my wife's family over, and so breaking out some games. And this game might win the award for biggest box in my collection to most accessible. And this
ratio.
Yes. And this goes to Dungeon Fighter, and specifically we played the collector's edition of Dungeon Fighter, which both Ryan and I have, and sing its praises, because this game, it's such an easy one to go to and want to bring out, because in some ways it delivers a little bit more of a, you know, it's a meatier experience rather than just a, you know, generic party game. Yeah. Like you're doing a little more, you know, there's more going on, but it's not complex, especially for like other people playing. Like the person, like me, like I just kind of like run the game, but man, like getting up and running in this game is super fast. I mean, you just deal out characters, you just kind of explain some of what your characters do and whatnot, and then the rest of it you can just kind of figure out as you go.
Yeah, everything's open information. You're on a team.
But I think the thing about this one is, first, and we've said this before, but like the collector's edition, despite having so much content, delivers it in such a streamlined way. I mean, at no point in this game am I like, okay, I gotta go, you know, find this thing. Like, it's just, you set out the trays and you just, and they even streamlined like the whole dungeon system. And now, you know, with just playing the cards and, oh, we got this. Okay, I just reach over to the tray and I grab that thing. We've got the volcano, or we've got the glass that you're looking through. Like, the way they just implemented all of that, it makes it so easy to inject a ton of variety into the game. And the variety just makes the game so, like, that's the fun of it, is just all the crazy things that you can encounter. And this is a game that I have found delivers a party-like experience when you're like, even though it is, you're going through a dungeon, you're battling monsters, like you don't have to be someone that likes that type of game to like Dungeon Fighter.
It's a pretty goofy angle on the dungeon crawling theme.
Yeah,
like,
it's a goofy,
kind of humorous.
And even what you're doing, right? Throwing dice at a board and then having to do, these crazy shots. And so like yesterday, I had a pretty sweet combo where I first got a weapon that was the it was a fishing one. So we had a little circular water thing and you have to bounce the die inside of the circle of water before going on a thing. I was like, okay, that's not bad. I can do that. I tell you what, Ryan, our years of Dungeon Fighter have paid off in the skill side of it. So then we ended up getting a group item, those ones that apply to everyone, that if you ever use 2 weapons in the same attack, you get +1 damage. So I'm like, okay, I've already got this one. So I end up getting the, I think it was the ninja shot after that, where you got you kind of the praying one. And so I was working it with this praying shot into the thing, onto there. There was even a monster we faced where you had to have it bounce multiple times before it got onto the target. And so I'm like, I can do this. So praying shot into the thing multiple times on, it's just like such a fun game. And we actually did pretty well. I mean, we end up winning and, but not, there were moments that were tough and like, all it takes is like one monster that, puts you in a tricky situation. I had to look up in the rules, what happens when you literally have like 2 things that are impossible.
Incompatible.
Yeah, because you had to do a pinky shot. You had to hold in the pinkies, but then the monster was you had to throw it off your elbow.
Come on, Daniel.
Well,
make it
and
happen.
so the rules basically say like, you either have to retreat back, which I guess like hurts you,
get hurt,
or as a group basically decide what is the most legal way of like be creative.
Doing both.
So we came up with, okay, you got to have a pinky on the, put it on the elbow, put a pinky on. And so like, I don't know, this game is just a hoot. Even for people like just starting with the base, 2nd edition box would be a great place to start. I mean, obviously we love this because we've played it a ton, but this one just feels like it's going to be a forever game in the collection,
Well, and the ceiling for high moments in this game is just so high. Like of what could happen in an amazing moment.
Great reminder, Ryan. So how we're in the boss, and it wasn't to kill the boss because he had 11 health, but my brother-in-law, sister-in-law's husband. I don't know what that is. So no,
please drop in the comments below.
I don't know. I'm bad at that stuff. So, anyways, he 11 health left on the boss, and we had the pendulum die. That's the other thing. All the different dies, the pendulum die, and so he's swinging it, and he throws the pendulum die and lands it on a bullseye, and so got him all the way down to 1 health. It was pretty epic.
It's pretty epic.
Dungeon
nice.
Fighter.
Yeah, I've been playing this actually 2-player with my 5-year-old son, and he loves it, and it's great fun. We just had to play the other day where we got to throw the snow die. I don't think I'd ever thrown the snow die before.
That's a really big light one,
fluffy one, and that thing does not like bounce. Like I'm like, there's like no way we're gonna get on it, and we had to use it to try to save ourselves against a guy that was doing like the one where you have to hold the other person's hand.
Yeah.
So he's holding it in his hand, and I'm like trying to do it, and it was like we're gonna lose if we don't get this.
Yeah.
And I try to give it enough momentum, and it bounces, and then it like goes up on a quarter and just slowly drops like right on like a 5. It was almost a bullseye, but it was just so fun. It was so dramatic. The way that it.
Have you played with the other targets? I've only played with the base one.
Last time played with which one was it? Maybe the Earth one or something. But that's another just silly thing but it like does change the feel.
Yeah.
Whichever one we played with has the holes are much closer to the bullseye. So it makes the bullseye area very dangerous. Like, because the boards are like actually quite different with like, so it is fun. It's another thing you can just
so
change
good.
it. So good. Nice. My number 2 is a game I've been talked pretty positively about here in the first year or so of me having it, and it continues to just land so well for me and just keep me excited about getting to the table more. And this is Innovation. Actually played this the same day as Underwater Cities with the same friend. And
what
this
a day.
What a day. And he's also the friend that I've played Innovation the most with, 2-player. And so we were like, now's maybe a great opportunity to try one of the expansions because we've played the base game multiple times. So we used the Echoes of the Past expansion, which was for the original edition of the game. That was the first expansion that came out. There's other expansions in this Ultimate Edition that you could use first. But this had some pretty interesting changes in the game. First of all, it doubles the card count. Like literally for every deck in it, there's also an Echoes deck that has like as many cards that you like put next to it or under it, like as like another deck that's available. And the way that you draw from that deck is anytime you would draw cards, so say you would draw from like the 3 era or whatever they call it, if your current tableau has, like, you look at whatever your highest top card is, which would be a 3 in this case, because that's what determines what deck you go from. If you only have 1 3 instead of like multiples of it, then you draw from the Echoes deck. But then once you play another 3, now you have multiple top cards that are the highest. Now you draw from the normal deck. And so it kind of just injects this, like sometimes you're drawing from Echoes, sometimes you're drawing from the other. We're like, we don't even know what you would want to be doing because we don't know what's in these decks. But just a great way to inject a bunch of new cards into the system in a way that doesn't completely throw off the pacing of the game. But then these cards introduce some really cool new elements into it. So one of the big things is it's called Echoes of the Past. There's, in place of some of the icons on these cards, there's these echo effects that are basically like the Dogma effects. They're like text that does something that now when you do the Dogma of your top card, you also get to do any of those that are visible. And so this means that like once you start splaying late in the game, you can have an echo effect from a previous card a long time ago, still contributing this like additional effect onto your current top card. So that's an interesting like mix up there. There's also now some of the icons are replaced with like a victory point coin, which is very interesting because as long as it's visible, it contributes to your victory point total, which your victory point total in this game is very important because you're racing for those standard achievements that require you to have certain point values. And in fact, I actually ended up winning the game at the end largely because I was able to get out a really big point value on a card that got me high enough to grab my last achievement. So that's interesting because again, like now that's a decision when you cover things up. Right. Like if I now play another card and cover this up, I'm covering up points that maybe I wanted visible. So I liked that. That's a very like low rules overhead addition. But then there's this whole concept of forecasting. And so there are ways in the game that you might be able to forecast a card. So it might be like forecast a 5 or something. You would take a 5 card, you get to look at it and know what it is, but then you tuck it under the top of your little player aid and it's in your forecast area. And basically it's like you know it's coming. So you can kind of like plan around it, but it's going to be once you play a 5, like meld some other 5, so you actually made it to era 5, you now will immediately get to play your forecasted 5 as like a free action, but you also must immediately trigger its Dogma. So it's this interesting thing of like, you can kind of like, okay, I know this is coming. Can I set it up that I could really get a powerful like 1-2 punch of playing and then immediately triggering and doing this thing as part of forecasting it? And then there's even cards in the Echoes deck that have a when forecasted do this other effect. So if you can manage to get those in your forecast and get them out through, do they call it promoting? You would get this like mega effect potentially on it, which is really hard to do because like the things that have to fall into place, you have to get like that card into your forecast and then specifically work and then and promote it. But it's that type of thing that I love in this game of just like, yeah, for one of those given cards, you're not going to see that, but then you play the game 20 times and finally for the first time see this particular card like trigger in this way.
Right.
And I think that's just a lot of what has me so excited about playing this game more is just you're always going to be seeing new things every time you play this game, new ways that things combo together. And like I never realized like this dogma effect from era 2 that I was able to like keep on the top all the way to era 7, and now like it has a completely different dynamic of how it's affecting the game because plus it's just very funny thematically when somebody's over there still working some old technology like I forget what the one was that I don't know. It's a very like unscientific medieval like approach to things, and like you could be way later in the game just still hitting it. But yeah, this one I really enjoyed this first play of the expansion. It is a little bit of you inject all these new cards in, and that's going to be new cards that you're not familiar with when your opponent gets it, and you're like, okay, what does that card do again? Because the more you play this game, it does help that like you start to see a lot of the same cards, and you don't. It's not like every card has to be a read and understand what it does. But yeah, this one's just a ton of fun. I mean, I could definitely see the more I play with like an experienced player, like always wanting to mix in this or maybe mix in a different expansion, or for feeling wild, mix in more than one expansion. And the Ultimate Edition really did a good job of making that all very clean and having a good like kind of combined rule book for all the expansions. So yeah, very positive first impression of the Echoes of the Past expansion.
Yeah, we are raving about all of these like Ultimate Editions, Collector's Editions. My gosh.
But we will say to you, if you want to get Dungeon Fighter, just get the standard second edition. You can expand it with sets if you want. If you want to get Innovation, they now have released, after the Ultimate Edition, they released now, I don't know if it's the 4th edition, but they released the new edition in a smaller set. And Innovation is definitely a game that you could just get the base game and be happy forever. I'm happy to have some of this expansion stuff, but that would be my recommendation to people, is just to get the base game. But
you might be happy forever, but you'll be happier with more.
Happier. My number 1 isn't an Ultimate Edition. So.
Oh, okay. Neither is mine.
Good.
Because
get off that train.
That bougie train. And word to my number 1, Ryan. I'm very excited to talk about this because this is a game that 1, I don't know. 2 is one that I think both of us have kind of had our eye on for a while, of just one that was like, oh man, that one, it's really highly. I actually didn't realize how high in the rankings it is on BGG. That actually, when I went and looked, I was like, oh my goodness. But I totally understand why, because I got a chance with a buddy of mine. He brought over Lost Runes of Arnak. And wow, that was a very, very fun game. Yeah, it was just such a fun play. A lot of really cool things going on in this one. I'll start off. You can see it, in the pictures here. This game is beautiful. Like the board, just like when he put it out, it's maybe a little bigger than it needs to be, but it looks incredible on the table. And so I was just like, wow, as much as maybe you could argue that like doesn't matter, it kind of does actually. It is fun to play on something that looks great like that. But man, this one just has a lot of really cool things going on. I think a little bit earlier we were talking about what you were talking about with not Great Western Trail. What was the Underwater Cities, of just like things kind of tactically comboing. It feels like this one just does that in like over and over and over. You're kind of, it's this interesting combination of, it's both a like worker placement, although you only have 2 workers. So kind of there's this kind of section of the board where you're placing a worker out, and there's some base locations that you can go to get some resources or do kind of a simple conversion. But then ultimately you're like exploring out into these, I think they're like caves. So you can like spend resources to go discover, one of the, and there's kind of level 1 locations, but then there's the like big level 2 ones further. And whenever you spend and you go to a location and you draw a random, location there, which is ultimately going to be a new action location for all players for the rest of the game. So one cool thing about that is just like the order of like actions coming out is kind of randomized. And when you go there, you get the ability, or you get, you receive the benefits of the action. There's another bonus you get for being the one that explored it. But then also there's a like big monster, that comes out on the location, and every turn you stay there without defeating it, you're going to get a fear, which is just that's the other part of this game. This game is a deck builder in that. So you start off with, but not like a big deck build. I mean, this is like a tight deck of cards, but you're going to be buying cards to add to the deck. But every turn that you're there with this, monster, you have to add a fear into your deck, which is just a, card. It's -1 at the end of the game, but also it's just clogging your deck. But there's ways you can, get rid of that. So you got all that going on, and then there's like this whole kind of sidetrack, which is like the research thing that you can be going up on, and you've got 2 tokens on it, and you always have to have your like eyeglass token be ahead of your notebook. So you have to like move the eyeglass first and then your notebook, and based off of on each level, whichever token gets there gets you different rewards, and the first person to get to places will like get an extra bonus. So there's a little bit of a race going on out there. And then at the top of the board, you have the shop of cards coming out that you're buying to, spending resources to add to your deck. And what's interesting about that is at the start of the game, the shop is, so it's like think of like a row of, I don't know if it's like 7 cards or something like that, but at the start of the game you've got like 1, and I don't know, they're special cards, I don't know if magic cards, something like that, but you start with 1 and then the other 6 cards are just regular item cards. But every round this little marker moves to the right, and more of the cards are going to become these like high power special cards, and less will become items as they're filling in, which I thought was just kind of an interesting thing there. So it's one of those games a little bit where you're like, okay, there's a lot of different things I could do. How do I know what the best one is? And I don't know. I just start going, and hope.
Is there very much like variable setup that like would give you any kind of nudge of what you?
So in terms of what you like personally have, I'm trying to remember. I don't think there's anything from like a personal player.
Because I know there's the expansion for
which I've heard
like
is great.
The leaders or something, and I know that adds basically variable player
that would
powers.
be nice.
But I wasn't sure if there was any other kind of like.
I don't think it has it in the base game. You can correct me down below if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, so a lot of the variability then comes from just the way the actions are coming out, what the cards that you're buying for your deck. I ended up getting this really and I got it early, this like incredible playing card that made it so that I could go when I go to like the level 2 locations, I could like go there for huge discount and resources, and I was able to pull that one out multiple times, which was massive for exploring there. I don't know. I mean, when you get in the zone of a game of just like, okay, so I get these resources, then I'm going to spend these resources to go over on the research track and go up, and that's going to get me this bonus, and then I'm going to, like, you just start getting in this like dun 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 dun. Like that one, I felt like I was just in that rhythm the whole game. Like it just kept going and going. This one was a ton of fun to the point where I had it on my kind of thinking about it list, and after playing it, I bumped it up to my kind of like either like or love to have, because it was very, very fun. And obviously to have heard that an expansion for it is, could add some of even that more variability around individual player powers. We love that kind of stuff. So Ryan, I think you should keep your eye on this one.
It's one of those ones. I mean, it's one of the more highly rated games that I haven't played, and that I for whatever reason it had never like bumped onto my like next games to consider buying list. It feels like one that I would love to be able to try. It does, like on paper, it so hits on a lot of things.
It doesn't do anything crazy. Like there's nothing in it that I feel like there's not a lot in it that's like, oh my gosh, I've never seen that before in a board game. It's just the combination of the mechanics just work really well together. And so I wouldn't say it's like an experience that's totally out there, but man, it just felt so good what what it was delivering.
Yeah, and I know when it first came out right around the same time as Dune Imperium, and the board game community really like latched on to like pitting these two against each other just because both have deck building and both have worker placement.
Yeah.
And there weren't a lot of games that did that at the time. Where it seems like the more I've learned about them, like that like isn't like a really strong compare. Like they seem pretty different.
I think they feel pretty different. Yeah,
but I don't know if that's part of like the fact that I have and like Dune Imperium that has maybe like subconsciously made me not.
They are in a similar
like looking
space
into it.
of like, you know, in terms of like when you're choosing, it feels like those two would be like
strategic weight and length of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah, especially now, you know, with the new expansion coming out that adds some of the stuff that I know is directly in the lane of what I like in these types of games. Maybe I gotta keep it on my radar.
Yeah,
especially
one
with
of us
this
will get it,
endorsement.
and then we can try it together.
Yes, perfect. You're that person, right? That's gonna get it.
Yeah.
just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Cool. My number one is a game that I think 2 years now on our top 50 of all time, I've had to tragically say that I didn't get it to the table despite claiming it as one of my favorite games. But I finally made sure this one got played. This is probably the most sprawling of any of the big kind of strategy games I have. This is A Feast for Odin. And it had been over 2 years since I played this.
Disgusting.
And it was really just a matter of circumstances that some of the groups that I like would play it with. Well, you and your wife obviously don't live here anymore, and your wife doesn't really like this game anymore. You guys ended up getting rid of your copy.
It was too sandboxy.
Too sandboxy, yeah. And it is definitely pushing a little bit more in that sandboxy direction. And honestly, if I had one complaint to this game, it's still that the cards don't quite push as much as I want them to.
Yeah.
And like the Norwegians expansion is amazing, and we played with it. But it adds this one thing that I don't love, which is in the base game, it's like, there's some randomness of who gets better cards. Well, they're like, well, to even this out, we'll make it that whenever you could play a card, you could just discard it and take a point token. So that way, at least if you don't get good cards, you can get the point tokens. But my problem is like, it's incentivizing you to do the less fun option.
Yeah.
Like the more fun thing is to play the cards and try to use the abilities and do the things. But man, these point bonuses is a lot of times you go like, am I going to get 4 or 3 points out of this card? Like,
probably not.
I don't know. I probably should just do it. And so like, I ended up getting a bunch of point tokens and not cards. Now part of that was like, I really just did not get cards that were matching what I was doing. It was like, man, I'd have to like so pivot to make this card possible. But yeah, I would just love I'd almost love if it was reversed, if you were like more incentivized to play more cards for,
Yeah.
Maybe I need to come up with some variant here. But even with that, this game is just so unique and satisfying. I mean, there's just no game that combines quite the level of really big scope worker placement resource management. So you're definitely in the Uwe Rosenberg, manage your resource, build up your engine type of system. But the way it combines that with a spatial puzzle is just really fascinating, where the resources you're getting are little shapes, and these little shapes can upgrade through these different levels of colors, and that's going to determine like which boards you can play them on, and ultimately you're trying to fill in your board and get around these restrictions. And so much of the game is about like, how can I get pieces, but then maybe upgrade them to be bigger or a better color so that I can use them this other way. But then those are also what you need to use to feed, and the shape is relevant when you're feeding too, because you're filling in the little track. In this game we were playing with the Norwegians expansion, so you get a random artisan shed that when you go to build a shed, you could build a side of that.
Right.
And I built the pigsty that very early on I was able to start producing the long slabs of meat that are like 4 long. And so that's huge for my feeding strategy, because they're a red, which can break up the orange tiles you get from the harvest, and it filled in really long. But yeah, it just, I don't know. There's really nothing even close to feeling like it for me. And the whole like going and getting an island and the way your income goes up in this game, and there's kind of this pacing of, okay, I'm increasing my income on the main board, but then I might want to go get an island that I can, move up. But then there's also these bonuses that if you surround them, which is like such a nice tension of like, I want to increase my income. The most efficient way to do that is just to like block in with big pieces. But do I want to cover these bonuses? Some of them are really good. On my island, I had a bonus that I started producing a blue tile of like the like sea antler piece that comes in the expansion, which is like a really good piece. That's like a 5 square blue piece, and I was able to start producing it. And the game it feels very bountiful. It's giving you get those harvests just like built into the game, that you get these harvests. And as you get your income going, you're just getting a lot to work with. And it's how can I, funnel that all to points. So it was so fun to get to play this one again.
Did you win?
I did win. I mean, I was playing with 2 players that had never played it before, which, I mean, that goes to show you that was the only way I was going to get this to the table is I needed to teach it to somebody.
And it was Toby and Theo.
Yeah. So my children, it's like, boys, it's time. No. And the new players actually did well, I think, for first time playing. I had probably one of my best games I've had of this. And so it wasn't particularly close. But fortunately, it's the type of game where you get a lot of satisfaction out of just doing your thing. And because you get to see yourself fill your own grid, that, you at least get some of that feeling, even if you're not as close in the score.
Here's my question, Ryan. Did you forge a lot? Like, isn't that where you go get those big?
Yeah. So I did I would say forged.
Here's my uneducated thing. I see people who win way too often. It's that strategy. You go
forging and pillaging. Forging and pillaging
is the way
which
to
I
go.
think. Yeah, and that definitely was true for me this game. I think for it to be balanced, it kind of requires everybody to realize those are strong.
Yeah, and go after them.
Because then at least keeps it like competitive. Like if you just let one person sit there and run one ore through to get these giant blue pieces, it still does feel a little bit like just almost too good of value.
I agree.
Like there's that one space where you just spend one ore. It's a 3 worker space, so you got to send a lot of workers. But then you can just go take like, I got like the anvil and it's like, it's like 9 squares or whatever. Now I will say they designed those pieces. Like if you get one of those early, they're all really obnoxious.
Inconvenient.
With where the bonuses are on the, like you like have to decide to cover things up and like they are awkward. But it's still just like so much to fill in.
Right.
But yeah, it was nice to play it again. And, the more time that passes, the more you start to question things like, is this one of I think it was in my top 15 or something.
I got rid of it.
And yeah, this play of it made me go, no, I love it. And it's so different. Like it really is one that I think is gonna stay in my collection. Hopefully over the years I'll have people who will play it with me. Actually, this one I didn't realize it has a board game arena implementation, which is kind of wild with how crazy this game is. But maybe I'll have to try that sometime because it would be fun just to get to engage with the game a little bit more if I'm not getting to in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it stays in my Uwe Rosenberg Calyx cube. It's
there you go.
As of right now, it's Agricola, Feast for Odin, and Howard Tower.
There you go. What's gonna be the next one going into that?
That's a good question. Is there Newsford or whatever? Is one
I don't know how you pronounce that one.
Yeah,
isn't that one? Isn't that
definitely
one
has me intrigued. Yeah, let me know below
what's the next Uwe game?
Uwe Rosenberg game belongs with those 3. Is it Newsford? Because I think that's the one that I have. Glassroads one I considered for a while. They actually made a new, what is it, Black Forest or something. That's like a new version of it that it's very much inspired by Glassroad, but it seemed like that got kind of mixed reviews and but I've heard good things about Glassroad.
I used to have Fields of
Arla.
Arla.
Yeah. I never played that one.
I got rid of that one too.
You got rid of it before I had the chance to play it. You jerk. No, but Uwe, there's a point where how many do you need? And
when you got Agricola, Ryan, do you really need another one?
And like they do really have to distinguish themselves and like fit a different scenario because it's like, well, I'm not really looking for a reason to not play these other game, to play a different game instead. That's the tension with these games. But yeah, Feast for Odin been in my collection for a long time. Coming back and proving why it still holds its spot.
Great games, a great month, and a great opportunity to buy board games. It's the holiday season, folks. So if one of these games inspired you to pick one up for your spouse so that you can play it, you can click the link below. It supports the channel as well, which is kind of cool. And we've got more videos right here, and we will see you in the next one.